Good afternoon. I'm Jay Hopwood, the Chief of Police for the Haines City Police Department. Earlier today, we had an officer-involved shooting within the city limits of Haines City. One of our officers attempted to conduct a traffic stop on a very dark-colored pickup truck with very dark-tinted windows on it. Did not have a tag attached to the vehicle. Traffic stop occurred 1200 Block Avenue I in Haines City as the vehicle was turning off of 13th Street. Suspect vehicle pulled to the side of the road as our officers conducted the traffic stop. We had a backup officer come from the opposite direction, pull in front of the vehicle. At this time, as our backup officer was getting out of the vehicle, the suspect vehicle backed up, almost striking the original officer's vehicle, and sped forward, attempting to strike Officer Ryan Hamilton. At this time, Officer Hamilton fired several shots. Suspect hit the gas pedal, like I said. It was heard by a witness as it drove right at Officer Hamilton. Officer Hamilton is about a year and a half. Been on the force about a year and a half here at the police department. The other officer, Joseph Elam, been here approximately 11 years. They're part of the young men and women of the Haines City Police Department who have been out protecting this city and our citizens here several years, like I said. Officer Hamilton fired several rounds, and Sheriff Judd will be talking about more in detail, a little bit more about that in just a second. Suspect is Louivens Ceus, the black male, 9/5 of 2001. His last known address is within the city limits of Haines City. At the time, Mr. Ceus has a suspended driver's license and long prior arrest in his history. The officer involved deadly incident task force for the 10th Judicial Circuit, which Sheriff Judd manages, and it's under his control, has taken over the investigation, and they will be going on forth with their investigation over the next several days. We have some preliminary information that we want to pass out here today. And as it is our standard practice for the police department, officers will be placed on administrative leave with pay after the investigation is completed by the OD task force, and the police department will conduct an internal investigation when that is complete. We want to make sure that our general orders and the policies and procedures for the Haines City Police Department have been followed. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Sheriff Judd to provide some more details as far as the incident goes.
Thank you, Chief. Come on in, Sergeant. First off, I want to point out this is the police officer sergeant that was on duty last night, and the professional response was remarkable. So thank you very much for your team doing the right thing at the right time for the right reason, Sarge. You know, Chief wanted to make sure that there was a transparent investigation. He immediately called the OD task force. It's the 10th Judicial Circuit Task Force that was put together by our state attorney, Brian Haas. So not only is there an independent investigation by the OD task force, and in Polk County, I am the coordinator of that for the state attorney's office, but in addition to that, there was state attorney representatives that was here last night. But I want to give you some preliminary information, and as you know, every time we have an event such as this, I tell you the information that we give you is preliminary, and let me underscore that. That information can be modified as our investigation goes on. But it's important to all of us, especially to the chief and to me, that we present to you the information that we have at this point in the investigation. Certainly if we waited till this investigation was completed to release information, that would be weeks and weeks and weeks away, and that's absolutely not acceptable to the community and it's certainly not acceptable to us. But let me open this up by showing you some photographs. First and foremost, I want you to see that the tent here is very, very, very dark. You cannot see into that vehicle in the daytime, and you certainly can't see into that vehicle at night. So our officers had no idea who they were stopping. In fact, we checked the tent with one of our tent meters. To be legal, it has to be 28%. The lower you go, the darker the tent is. The tent on this vehicle was 2%, so it was totally blacked out. You could not see. In addition, what you're looking at here is a vehicle that was spray painted black. This vehicle was originally white. What the officers didn't know at the time of their traffic stop, they were simply stopping a vehicle occupied by an unknown person because there was no tag on the vehicle. And as a result of no tag on the vehicle, this entire event started. What they didn't realize, and we are still investigating, is we believe this vehicle is stolen. But it was sold about a year ago. We talked to that owner. He said, well, I sold it to another person. Apparently the transfer of information didn't occur. We've contacted that person who is out of county. He said, I left that vehicle while I'm working out of the county with my friend. We called that friend, and he said, the vehicle's been stolen. So we're chasing that information. But it appears at this time that the officers were stopping a vehicle known only for not having any tag at all, and now it appears to be a stolen vehicle. Originally, it was a 2003 GMC Sonoma White, but it's presented after being spray painted as a GMC Sonoma that is black. So I want you to look at the gunshots into the front of this vehicle. In order for those gunshots to be in the front of the vehicle, the officer had to be standing in front of the vehicle. And that's what our research has showed us and our investigation up to this point. Let me show you the gentleman that's driving the vehicle without a tag, more than likely stolen. This is Louivens Ceus. Louivens Ceus is 24, and he was born in Haiti. At 2:24 in the morning was when Officer Elam, who is an 11-year veteran with the Haines City Police Department, tried to stop the vehicle. The vehicle pulled over. Officer Hamilton pulled in front of the vehicle. So now there's a police car in front and a police car in back. Officer Hamilton gets out of the vehicle, his vehicle, which is in front of our now suspect vehicle. And when he gets out, Ceus races the engine, backs up, and drives directly at Officer Hamilton. That's why these shots are directly from the front into the vehicle. And as he drives past him, obviously he loses control because he's hit from the gunfire and drives off of the road. Now, here's what's interesting to understand. So we know now that what we didn't know then. They knew they were stopping an unknown person driving a vehicle without a tag. Now we know there's a meth pipe in this truck that appears to be stolen, that Ceus had cannabis in his pocket, that in addition to that, there was a stolen medical marijuana card from another gentleman in the car that appears, and I see, and let me underscore, appears to be stolen at this time. We're chasing that investigation down. So let's look at Louivens Ceus' criminal history. In 2021, he was engaged in a hit-and-run crash in Davenport, where he was criminally charged. He was also driving without a driver's license. He also was charged with DV battery strangulation of his child's mother and was on probation. He violated that probation. He's been running from the law. He's a fugitive. He's an absconder. The police officers that night had no knowledge of how violent and dangerous this guy was, but he had no interest, obviously, in going to jail. So when this event unfolded last night, the first thought in the officer's mind was, why in the world is he trying to run over us and kill us for not having a tag on his vehicle? Now we know. The truck's probably stolen. The medical marijuana card in the vehicle is probably stolen. There's a meth pipe in the vehicle. He had cannabis in his pocket, but most important, he was fleeing from justice. He was fleeing and resisting a felony arrest. We're blessed today that these wonderful young men did not get injured during this event. We're sorry for Louivens Ceus' family that this happened. But I want you to understand clearly and unequivocally, at this point in the investigation, it is apparent to us that Officer Hamilton did not make the determination to shoot Ceus. Ceus made the determination for Officer Hamilton to shoot him when he drove his truck, his stolen truck, directly at the officer. Now you have all of the information that we have at this point in time. The investigation continues, and we'll have more information in the ensuing days and weeks. Take care. God bless.